Good morning. Thank you guys for joining. This is our second See the People Prospecting call, and today is an exciting one for me. Today we have Brian Askins, the owner of Secure Insurance Group. He is by far the best insurance man I know, and just happens to be my father. And so, good morning. Good morning, Dad.
Good morning.
So before we dive in, tell us about. Well, obviously I know, but our listeners may not know. Tell us about where you're from, your background, your history.
Well, I was born and raised in Wynne, Arkansas. I was actually born in a little city right outside of Wynne, about 15 miles away, but was raised in Wynne, Arkansas. It's a little small town in northeast Arkansas. Has a population of about 8,000 people in the city and 12,000 people in the county. And I was an insurance agent in that town from April of 1990 to April of 1997. So for 7 years, I was, and back then it was different than it is today. Back then, we only could work certain counties. So my county was Cross County, so I had 12,000 people that I could sell insurance to.
Wow. Can you imagine only being able to work certain counties today? That'd be a little different. Well, very good. Well, how did you end up in the business?
Well, I was selling furniture door to door out of a box, and with pictures of furniture in a box, and walking and knocking door to door.
So you showed pictures of furniture and sold pictures of furniture door to door, and then you sold it and then it had it delivered?
Sold it, had it delivered. I would sell it, then I would go pick it up from the warehouse. I deliver it, so I did it all. And but
selling, delivery, installed
it, the whole 9 yards, and but sold furniture door to door out of a box, just showing the pictures. And our family had always had their insurance with Nationwide Insurance, and our home and auto and things of that nature. And so the home and auto, or the Nationwide guy there by the name of Lewis Peeler, the Reliable Life insurance company was looking for a rep for the local area, and so they were friends, and so this lady stopped by the Nationwide office one day and said, "Hey, do you know of anybody that might be a good fit for what I'm looking for?" And he recommended me. They contacted me, and here I am 26 years later.
Wow. Well, I'm sure glad they did, or else I probably wouldn't be in the business either. So. Well, one thing I do like to always ask, and I always ask my agents this, and even more important than just doing this for the money, we've got to have a why as to why we do this, and it's kind of the backbone of who we are. What's your why?
My why is I'm an individual that I'm a very competitive person, a very competitive individual, sometimes almost to a fault. And my why is I came from somewhat of a little bit of a tough background, and obviously, a lot of people have come from tough backgrounds. My dad passed away when I was 5 years old, and I watched my mom work 3 jobs 7 days a week just to make ends meet. And so I never wanted to be in that situation. And also I've always had a tremendous love for my family. I've always wanted to give them the best life I possibly could. I've just always had a real good work ethic. So
yeah, no, you definitely have. The hardest working man I know. Has your why changed over the years?
My why has not changed. I still I got to succeed. I'm a competitive person. I've got to succeed, and in the insurance business, I do it 10 or 12 hours every day, and when I'm doing it, it's all I do. I'm very focused at being the best insurance agent I possibly can be, and then also helping recruit and support other agents, which I'm sure we'll get to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. One thing that I don't know that the callers necessarily know yet or not, or our listeners, is that one thing you always said when I was growing up is, and this was you said it in sports and it just carried on through life, is don't let anyone out-hustle you. I think I heard that phrase a million times growing up, and it stuck with me, and you know what? It's fortunately, my work ethic has been able to come from you, and in this business, that sure helps. So.
Yeah, I've always believed that you should never, ever, there may be someone with more talent, but you should never, ever let anyone ever outwork you.
Yeah, that's always been your motto, and you've lived it from day one. Well, what did you do unfortunately, this business is difficult. It's not easy. You don't get to punch a clock. Yes, you get to set your own hours, but whether you succeed or fail is a lot of times is on your shoulders. How are you able to be one of the few agents that do actually succeed in this business?
I really believe the difference between people succeeding and not succeeding is being creative. Obviously, we all know the person's got to have a good work ethic, and we all know that they've got to have some talent, things of that nature. You have to have those. But the one thing that really sets apart, in just my opinion, from the good from the great, is a person who's creative. They find ways to get in front of people as an individual with a creative mindset. A lot of people sit back and wait for things to happen, while others, they get creative and they find ways to make things happen.
Wow, that's a great answer. Thank you. Well, how did you, back when you started out, how did you consistently see the people? What did you do?
Back when I was an agent, I started in April 1990, I got my clients from many methods. One of the ways I got a lot of clients from was a property and casualty agent. This property and casualty agent, I called him one day, and his name was Louis Peeler. I called him, and I said, "Hey, Louis," I said, "I've got an idea." I said, "I'd like to take you to lunch." And I'd only been in the business for probably 3 months at the time, and didn't even know how to really spell insurance at the time, still trying to figure things out. So I wanted to go to lunch with Louis Peeler, the local nationwide guy that'd been there for years and years. So I go to lunch with Louis, and I said, "Louis," I asked him, I said, "Let me ask you a question." I said, I got a feeling that you and I can share prospects back and forth. I said, let me ask you a couple of questions. I want to learn a little bit about your business. I want you to learn a little bit about my business. And I said, I want to see if we could work together in any way. And I said, tell me what your focus is. Obviously, he said home, auto, commercial, umbrella policies, et cetera. And then I was just hoping he'd never said life insurance. Well, at the end, unfortunately, he said life insurance, and then my heart just sank. And so then I said, "Louis," I said, "let me ask you a question." I said, "Is there ever a situation to where you can't write a person, because of you're not competitive or Nationwide's underwriting guidelines don't allow?" I said, "Is there ever a situation to where you simply cannot, get that piece of business?" He said, "Oh, all the time." And so let me ask you this. I said, would you be willing, if I sent you property and casualty referrals, would you be willing to just send me the clients that you're not able to write? You exhaust every avenue you've got, but when you can't write them, you turn those over to me. Would you be willing to do that? He said, absolutely. So the very first thing I did is I went and I started giving Louis referrals. And then all of a sudden, every week I'd get a referral from Louis. Somebody he couldn't, somebody that was, declined or rated up, or he wasn't competitive, or someone who who was with him but found a less expensive rate elsewhere. And it seemed like every week I'd get a piece of business from him. And so then that gave me an idea. And about 3 months later, I went down to the end of the road on Highway 1 there in Wynn, and there's a little local independent insurance shop. And I coached baseball with this individual, so I called him, and his name was Rob. So I called him, and I say, "Rob," I said, "I'd like to take you to lunch." Same scenario. And I said, "Rob, what's your focus?" And he said, "Well, we do a lot of commercial business." He said, "I love working with farmers." And I said, "When you say farmers, what do you mean? What do you love doing with farmers?" And he said, "I love, crop health insurance and just working with farmers." And well, my first cousins had the largest farm in Cross County, so obviously I went out there, and my uncle's name was Harry, and so I called him and connect them two together. And next thing I know, Lawson Insurance is sending me lead after lead after lead, and to repay me. Same thing with local real estate lady. It was Holmes Realty. Same thing with the local mortgage rep. It was at the Cross County Bank. The guy's last name was Runzie. And so it was, I started networking with other people on an individual basis, and I'd find ways to send them referrals, and then obviously they were sending me referrals. So.
Wow. That's a very creative way to network with other individuals, and obviously it sounds like you had to kind of start the referrals, and once you started giving, they felt the obligation to give back, I would imagine.
There's no doubt. There's a professional obligation. When you give referrals, there's a professional obligation for them to give referrals back. But if you're the one that initiates the idea and you never give the first referral, then obviously you're probably never going to get any referrals. And so obviously you got to give to get. So
because I'm sure you've heard thousands of times over your 26 years that, these networking groups don't work for me because I don't get any referrals. Well,
yeah, there's a reason they're not working, because they're not giving referrals.
Yeah.
If you give referrals, and I'll talk about, I'm in a networking group now. I'll talk about that a little bit later in the call, but we'll get into depth on that, and you'll see why that I've been successful in that group, and because I give the most. It's me or one other gentleman who give the most referrals in that group.
So when you networked with these individuals and you went out and saw your clients every day, was there specific questions that you asked? How did you create the referral opportunity for you to refer did you make it a part of your system?
I did. For example, like on one of the questions on our fact finder was, how much is your mortgage? And then I'd always follow up with the second question, what's your mortgage interest rate? And would you like to see if you could lower your mortgage interest rate? So that was one question that I automatically had. Another question I always had was, I'd ask them, I said, do you own a business? And obviously most of them didn't, a few did. But then I was, who owns it? Where do you work at? Who owns that business? And I'd always try to get that business owner's name of where they worked at. And then with the PNC guy, that was easy. Who do you have your home and auto with? And would you like to see if you could, save a few dollars on your rates?
Who's not interested in that?
And it was just I was already in front of the clients. It was so easy to gather this information and then refer these individuals. It was already a part of my process. I just wasn't doing it prior to these connections here.
Right. Okay. Very good. How many people did you consistently see each week?
My goal was always to never ever have a day that I wasn't in front of at least 2 people, and at an absolute minimum of 10 each week. And in most weeks I was well above that, but to never see less than 10 people per week. And I always had a goal of that, but I had a goal that was even more important, more of a priority to me than even the appointments, was I wanted to make at least one sale every single day. And my goal was to never go home without having a sale in my pocket, to where, I sold a piece of business, some type of product that day. And and that was my number one priority, is to never go home without making a sale.
And it's a phenomenal goal, even a little bit of a lofty goal, working one county, on one area. So that's a real nice goal. I didn't prep you at all for that question, but I always tell all of our agents that if you see less than 5 people a week, you're going to fail eventually. If you see at least 5 consistently each week, you'll do good. The agents that do great are the ones that see at least 10 or more every single week. So
that's true.
You answered that exactly the same as I was hoping, but yeah, didn't prep you at all. So thank you. What products did you sell starting out?
Most of our products were smaller life policies, final expense life insurance. We sold a lot of accident-type coverages, and then we did fire and dwelling, which fire and dwelling it wasn't homeowners, so it was easy to be referred. Anybody who wanted a homeowners policy has liability coverage. I referred those to the Nationwide guy. Fire and dwelling was those individuals who had the $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 homes. The most coverage we could sell was $30,000.
Okay.
And so it was really, really small homes, and it didn't have the liability coverage with it. But those were the 3 products.
Okay. And you told us earlier that you did fact find. How did you fact find? Did you have a certain fact finder you used? Was it something you had put together? What was your system as far as fact finding goes?
No, I used the company fact finder. I was with Reliable Life the first 7 years, and I used their company approved fact finder. But what I did was that I had an extra sheet that I'd created with some additional questions on there that I felt was important, and I would just simply slide that sheet in there, and it helped me get some of these referrals too. But I did fact find on every appointment, and almost without fail. That was just something that, and the company didn't require it. I didn't have to turn my fact finders into anyone. It wasn't anything of that nature. It was just, I knew that was my best way to find out exactly all the different coverages they had, to find out, and I knew that I'd been told by an individual before that existing clients are going to be your best source of new sales going forward. And there is no doubt in my mind that is absolutely true.
And that's a great point. Most agents, even myself, for a while when I was new, we become scared to ask someone to buy twice. But the person that's the easiest to sell is the one that's already bought from you once.
Absolutely. And what I did with the fact finder, let's just say that I was out there and let's just say I sold them a life policy, but they needed twice the amount I sold them, but financially they couldn't afford it. Well, a year later I'd review that to see if they could afford additional life insurance. Maybe they couldn't afford the accident policy when we purchased it, but now they've had to, their kid had an accident, playing football or something, and now is a little more important to them. And all kinds of there's opportunities. There's unlimited opportunities. One of the great ways to get referrals is whoever they name as their beneficiary. That's an automatic referral. You've got to ask for referrals, and so I always ask the beneficiary's date of birth, their address, their phone number, what relationship they are to them. I want all the information, even whether the application requires it or not. I want that information. They don't know the application doesn't require it. I want that information because then, obviously, I'm going to talk to them about those individuals, and that's built-in referrals right there.
I love that. You shared us about your goals to see 10 people a week, to make a sale every day. Expand on your goals for me for a second. Was there any other goals that you had, short-term or long-term?
Like I mentioned, I'm a very competitive person, and sometimes to a fault. In 1991, my first full year in the industry, I had set a goal to be Rookie of the Year for Reliable Life, and I achieved that goal that year. In that year, I sold 465 life policies that one calendar year.
In 1 year?
In that first.
I had heard that before, but that's just
in 1991, and I set a record for number of applications, set a record for production that year, and then I'd also led the entire company, but they wouldn't give me the Agent of the Year award too. They gave it to the person who finished second. He finished second behind me, but they gave it to him just because they wanted two different people to get the awards, and I wasn't eligible for Agent of the Year until after my first full year. And I'm
going to expand on that just for a quick second before you move into the rest of your goals. One thing people don't know is that you collected you were a debit route salesman, and you had to sell 465 or whatever the number was in 1 year, and to be collecting those premiums on a monthly or quarterly or semi-annual or annual basis, where you actually had to collect the premiums for those insurance policies, is just remarkable.
Yeah, I ran like I mentioned, I was in the county of Cross County, 12,000 people, and I collected several hundred homes a month, and I'd ran a debit route, and I did that for 7 years. And the way I sold the 465 that year is every house I went into, I prepared the night before, prepared when I went in there. I already knew what their ages were. Already had determined rates, amounts of insurance, options for them if they'd like to increase their life insurance. And that year, a lot of people obviously did. So
yeah, must have. Okay. So, is there any other goals you want to mention?
I was at Mutual Omaha for almost 17 years, and while I was there, I had a goal of hitting President Circle every year, and I achieved that every year for 14 consecutive years. And then when I started Secure Insurance Group, I had a goal to have the best opportunity available in the insurance industry for individuals that want to be independent, and I confidently believe that we've accomplished that. When you take consideration the compensation, the carrier portfolio, the product portfolio, the quote engines, the support, et cetera, et cetera, I believe that that we've got the best opportunity available for any independent insurance rep. So
I strongly agree with that. There's no question there. How much money did you make your first full year?
My first full year, I made $38,000, and that was obviously 26 years ago. So.
Yeah, that's a lot of money back in 1990.
It was a lot, and back then, we didn't when we had generated commissions, we didn't get all the commissions. The commissions went into a pot, went to a reserve, and then we had to draw that reserve. But you can only draw 10% of that reserve each year or each month. I'm sorry, each month, and so I had a lot of money in that reserve that got paid out over a long period of time, and because you can only draw 10% of your reserve each month.
Wow.
So it was a good idea. Obviously, I'd rather have had all the money up front, but it did keep your consistent pay. So there was a plus and a minus.
That makes sense. Walk us through your week back as a new agent. What did you do on a daily basis? What did your week look like?
Well, number one, I always want to be prepared for every appointment. I never want to go into an appointment unprepared because if you're unprepared, people sense that, they lose confidence and trust in you, and I want to be prepared. If I had appointments, obviously I'd go run those appointments and be as extremely prepared as possible, complete the fact finder while it's in there, gather information, and uncover needs. If I did not have appointments that day, I would take that. One thing that I see that most reps do, if they don't have appointments, they find ways to kill time. And I personally believe that's one of the top reasons why people fail in this business is they simply don't stay active. They simply find ways to kill time. Well, I found ways to kill time, but it was in productive manners. I would, kill my time prospecting for potential clients and potential referral sources. Door knocking homes, walking business to business, just to pass out a business card. You'd be surprised how much business I got from that. I got tons of business from just walking business, just pass out a business card. So I am a local insurance agent. I specialize in life. Whatever it is you want to say, just in a 10-second sentence there. Visiting with some of my best clients for referrals. I can't tell you how many times I'd go by my best clients and I'd just take them, a box of donuts or take them if I knew that they loved a milkshake. I had one lady that I knew she loved milkshakes. I'd go by Sonic every once in a while, grab a milkshake, run it over there, and just say, was thinking about you, want to give you I want to bring this to you and see if you got any referrals. And I did that I had probably 10 or 12 that I did special little things for, and obviously they're looking for business for you because you become their friend. Reviewing previously completed fact finders. I'd go back, every night I'd review the fact finders and say, okay, and I'd make notes on when because right now may not be the best time, but I hear they changed jobs. Obviously, they've lost insurance on their job. I'd immediately go visit with them. They had additional coverage needs, and that was not done at the meeting time, but could be done, at a future time. Scheduling and conducting annual policy owner reviews. That's probably one of my favorite things that I do. I've done it for years, and it's where I've probably gotten as much business as anywhere. It's just annual policy reviews. It also helps cement your products in that home, and I try to do all the interviews in person. But even if it's just over the phone, even if it's you'll have some people won't want to do them, but even if you send them a recap email,
right.
Just something to where you get your name back in front of them, let them know that you've got their best interest at heart, and it's just a great way.
It seems to be a lost art, and a lot of that went back to what you mentioned in the beginning is just being creative.
There's I would venture to say, and I obviously don't know the exact number, but I'd venture to say there's probably less than 2% of insurance agents in our industry that actually do policy owner reviews. So, and I don't know the number obviously, but I'm just, if I had to put a number on it, I'd say it's less than 2%.
I would have to agree. It's got to be extremely, extremely low. Well, your businesses seem to have transitioned since then over the last 26 years. How so?
Back then, I did obviously a lot of door knocking. I was new, trying to get my name out there, and door knocking homes, door knocking businesses, etc. I don't door knock. I haven't door knocked in years, but my business hasn't changed a lot. I still build my business around existing clients and referrals, and so I don't know if it's changed a lot. It's just I still do the same things I used to do, except today I'm just selling larger policies, and I've got a lot more carriers and products to offer my clients than I've ever had in the past.
Okay. Very good. For all of our listeners out there, I know you touched on it a second ago. What is Secure Insurance Group? Secure Insurance Group is an independent insurance agency that was started by agents for agents, and I consider myself an agent. I've been in the insurance business, like I mentioned earlier, for 26 years, and I was on the management side for 17 years of that. But I still consider myself an insurance agent. I still do. Like I mentioned earlier, our focus was to pay top-level street commissions, provide all the tools and resources, to have a care portfolio second to none, have a product portfolio second to none, and so there's nothing that an agent could want or need that we're not going to have. For all the new agents, what does top street-level commissions mean? Top-level street-level commissions means it's the same level that you would get if you were able to go directly to the carrier. Most carriers, they require
a large proof of production. Some of them require $250,000 proof of production. Some of them $500,000 of premium, and some of them even $1 million to get certain levels of production. But through Secure Insurance Group, you're able to get top-level street commissions without any proof of prior production, without any proof of future production. And so it's because you're kind of under our umbrella. You're still paid directly by the carriers. All of your comp will never be paid by Secure. Your comp comes directly from the carriers, and which makes you vested on those renewals and so forth. And you always want to be paid directly by the carriers, and you always want to be the one that has ownership and vesting of the business.
Absolutely. What is your focus now?
My focus now is two things. Is obviously I love recruiting and supporting agents, and my focus is growing Secure Insurance Group. And we started in February of 2014, and then basically 2 years later, we've got about 145 reps right now that have contracts through Secure, and we've been able to grow so fast because of the comp levels, the support levels, the carrier portfolio. We represent over 140 carriers, and then our product portfolio. So we have resources that it would take a person a long time to accumulate on their own. And but I love recruiting and supporting agents, and also one thing that I wanted to make sure that I never stopped doing is I never stopped personally producing. I absolutely love that part of the business. Before I
ask the next question, what back when you started, was there in 1990? Was there telephones?
There was payphones.
There was payphones.
And
okay.
we had pagers and payphones.
Okay. So, but you didn't get your prospects from cold calling. It doesn't sound like.
No.
It just came from referrals, word of mouth, door knocking, businesses. Just.
I did very, very, very little cold calling. We did do some cold calling. But we would, call from the office phone or call from our home phone. I worked out of my home for 7 years. The office was an hour away. But there was we went there every Friday for meetings. There was some Fridays I went there and I'd stay that afternoon and make some phone calls from their phone, but from the office phone. But most of my phone calls was done from my home phone.
Well, there wasn't internet leads back then.
No, there was no such thing as internet leads in 1990.
Which some agents would they'd be lost without that. It's just crazy.
And I think that really helped me too, though, because I couldn't just go buy leads. I couldn't just go, do a lot of things that go to social media and see who I'm connected with.
Right.
I couldn't go to Facebook. I couldn't go to LinkedIn or any of those who I'm connected with.
Was Mark Zuckerberg born back then?
I'm not even sure.
Well, what were you able to? Did you gather leads just from meeting people? Did Reliable Life supply you with any leads?
Reliable supplied us with no leads at all.
Okay.
They never supplied us with one lead.
Wow.
I had my existing client book of business, which I worked hard, and that was where I got a lot of mine at. And then other ones came from just networking with individuals that I knew, and having personal conversations, finding ways we can exchange. And obviously, I did a lot of door knocking back then, just because. And I door knocked as many businesses as I did homes, and
wow.
Because there's not a business in Wynn, Arkansas, that I didn't pass a business card out to, and not a single business in Wynn. And I'd walk, and then some of them I'd drive to, depending on how close the businesses were. If they were in like a little shopping mall, I'd just go door to door.
Right.
And I passed out business cards to every business in Wynn, and then in a large majority of the homes. Only 12,000 people didn't take long.
Yeah. Well, those are ways that you prospected previously. How do you prospect today?
Today, I do the same things I've always done, except I just do them in a little bit different manner than what I did before. One thing I'd like to talk about just for a couple minutes here is a buddy of mine and we started a referral group from scratch. He came to me one day, and he had it was actually his idea, not even mine. And he came to me and he said, "Hey, what do you think about starting a referral group?" And I said, "Let's talk about that." And so we talked about it. And he said, "Be just like the same thing as BNI, which is Business Network International, or MOB, which is Masterminds of Business." He said, "Except we won't charge fees." He said, "And we'll invite people in to our group that we want to be a part of our group. We won't be joining an existing group. We'll start a group from scratch." And so I said, "I'm in." And so the first meeting, it was him and I. And then
were any referrals exchanged?
Not on that first meeting. The second meeting, it was him, I, and then a PNC agent.
Okay.
And then the third meeting, it was him and I, a PNC agent, and a mortgage, or I'm sorry, a real estate agent.
I see the trend here, kind of like the type of people that you were networking with back when you first started.
And so next thing we know, now we've got about 20 people in our group, and we pass a lot of referrals every single week. And I can get into that now or kind of get into it later, either one you'd prefer. But we have an estate planning elder law attorney, which has been a tremendous resource for me and my clients, and has given me more referrals than anybody in the group has given me. We got a real estate agent, a commercial real estate agent in there. We've got a mortgage loan officer in there. The PNC rep is the person who's given me the second most referrals in that group.
Wow.
And this is an individual that sells life insurance. And
it's crazy to think.
He sells life insurance, and him and I become good friends, and he sells a lot of life insurance. I wrote 4 pieces of business from him last week alone.
Most agents didn't write that in general in their whole practice.
4 pieces of business from him last week alone. Simply clients that he works for Farmers Insurance, that Farmers Insurance wasn't competitive with or wouldn't take from an underwriting standpoint.
Okay.
And
which, when you're captive, it does limit your opportunities. So
I wrote one Monday this week, or Tuesday this week from him.
Okay.
And so, and also we have an accountant in there, and so you want people in there that, and I can name all 20. I've got my book here of all everybody's business card in my referral group, but just it's a great way to get in front of people. Other ways I do it currently is and I'll talk about that at the end. But another way is existing client referrals. I'm telling you, if you're not getting referrals from your existing client, you are absolutely missing the boat. Existing client annual reviews.
Going back to client referrals, how do you ask? Everyone asks differently. How do you ask?
Well, I ask. It's honestly different with every client, but basically, I have this philosophy about referrals. The referrals you can get referrals. There's different levels of referrals. I can, like I mentioned earlier, I use the beneficiary a lot, because normally the husband will name the wife will name the husband, but they're always naming the kids.
Right. And
so I'm using that one as a referral. I've got a perfect example. About 3 weeks ago, I sold a husband-wife, and I ended up selling their kids last week.
Wow.
But long story short is that there's different levels of referrals. You can get a referral. You can get a name. You can get a name and a phone number. You can get a name, a phone number, and an email address. You can get a name, phone number, email address, or you can get a personal introduction, over the phone. You can get a client to sign a letter that you mail. You can get... I've
never heard that, but I like that.
There's all kinds of ways. There's different levels of referrals, and the deeper you get into the different levels, the more successful your referral is going to be. So a lot of times I'll have my clients make a quick phone call. I've had multiple ones. I'll say, hey, could you set up a lunch with, the individual you just talked about, and the 3 of us go lunch, I'll buy lunch, and it's just where...
I love it.
It's where it's different levels of referrals, so...
Wow.
And then the client annual reviews, I'm telling you, if you're not doing that, you're missing the boat. The existing client annual reviews are huge. You should be visiting with your clients at least once a year. Now, what I used to do when I first started, because obviously, I had more, I didn't have as many clients at that time, but I would visit my clients every 6 months, and then as I got more and more, I went to once a year. I just hired a personal assistant, a full-time personal assistant that does nothing but help me with my personal clients. She has nothing to do with Secure Insurance Group at all. She doesn't, she's just simply my personal production, helping with my clients, and she'll pay for herself tenfold. There's no doubt in my mind.
What all does she do for you?
She does a lot. She manages our client relationship management tool called Radius, and where she enters all the clients into this database. I made a sale yesterday as an example. So last night, before she left last night, she sent that client an email just thanking them for the business and walking them through the process, letting this client know that you're going to be getting a phone call and from, I think the carrier was American General in this particular case. From American General, they're going to conduct a health interview with you. This health interview should take between 15 and 30 minutes. if you would, go ahead and gather your doctor's information, your medications, because clients get frustrated when they don't have the information and that interviewer is asking for all that, and they're having to research for it.
Very true.
And then we attach she's creating a form right now. We're going to start attaching a form to where they can go ahead and have all that information in one form and have that in front of them. And that way, whenever it just makes the interview go much smoother. But then also she puts it into the client management system, but she also puts it on an Excel spreadsheet, and she follows it through through underwriting. Every day she checks it to see if there's anything additional needed. She checks all my pending. It's one pending report to see if there's anything pending that needs to be done. But the main thing is she emails the client. Then she turns around and she calls the paramed company, orders the paramed, and puts that information in that email. You should be receiving a phone call from Liz. Liz is a great lady that she'll come out. Here's what she's going to do. She's going to take your blood, your urine, your physical data. She's going to ask you some of the same health questions. She can do this in the morning time or whenever's convenient for you. I would recommend the morning time. I'd recommend fasting 8 to 10 hours prior to your exam because I want people to get the best exam results they can. And then if for some reason you can't fast 8 or 10 hours, just make sure you eat healthy and try to drink as much water prior to your exam as possible because, again, we want the best results we can get. Something of that nature. Just you're keeping the clients informed. Every single week on Fridays, she contacts every client. She contacts every client immediately when I sell them, and then she asks them, do you prefer to be contacted by email, phone, or text message? Okay. And then whatever they choose is how she updates them every Friday. And like today, she'll, hey, Mrs. Jones, we're still waiting for medical records from Dr. Fred, whatever. And so as soon as we receive those will be sent to Banner Life, and hopefully we'll have a decision within just a couple of days of receiving those.
Did you think 26 years ago that you'd be texting clients today?
No. Back then it was so funny. We had, like I mentioned earlier, we had the pagers, and so I didn't give my pager to all of my clients, but I gave it to some of my clients, and they would page me, and so I'd have to go find the closest payphone to call them back. So
wow, that is cool. Well, all that was a great lead into my next question, which is because those are ways that you followed up and systems that you have for working your pending, tracking your clients, giving them great service. For clients that maybe were referral or a lead from someone else, or how are you following up with those individuals after you've given them quotes and they are thinking about it or they have chosen not to proceed or say yes yet? How do you follow up with them? What's your system for that?
Well, we do two things. We put them in Radius, but we also put them on an Excel spreadsheet. Excel spreadsheet is it's easy to go and take a quick glance at. And so she has an Excel spreadsheet of every client that I've given quotes to. And right now we've got about 45 people on that sheet. Clients we've given quotes to that we're still in the process.
Clients that you're currently working.
Clients that we're currently working, and that we've got about 45 people on that. And then we've got it's a little one sheet. I'm actually going to be using the fact finder that Secure has created because I really like that. But right now we use just a little one pager, and basically we've got their information for these people. We've emailed them quotes or we've given them quotes, whatever the situation may have been, and then what she does is she has follow up on each one of these. And
with calls, emails.
Depends on how they prefer to be contacted.
Okay.
And so, like when we initially did it, I want to meet with a person face to face, but if a person says, hey, I just prefer to get email me some quotes, I don't mind doing that. I'll email them quotes and I'll have phone conversations with them. Whatever is convenient for them. Obviously, I'd much rather get face to face with them because it improves your chances.
Absolutely.
But I want that, but I'm not going to turn away an opportunity to give a quote because the carriers of products and the rates we're able to give, they're not going to find anything that comes close to it.
They're not beating it. So if they're going to buy from you. So
they are not beating it. So.
Did you, back when you first started, did you try to improve yourself as a salesman? And what did you do to improve back then? Are you still improving today?
I did. I've tried to improve myself. I've read dozens of sales books. I studied product details a lot. I want to be prepared when I go into a home. Now, I'm not an individual. I've got to know everything about everything before I do anything. I'm not one of those individuals, but I think those individuals sometimes that's an excuse for them not to get in front of people.
Just too much fear.
Yeah, there's just too much fear. But now, if I'm going to visit with a client, I'm going to do some product studying before I go, into this. Like for example, 2 weeks ago, I had a client that was really interested in a really, really good accelerated benefit rider. So I did some studying, and probably the two best out there that I found was Prudential and Transamerica. And so I presented both of them to him, and he loved the Prudential one. And
wow.
So we went with Prudential, and it was so funny. This week on Monday, he calls me and he says, "Hey, my wife also wants one of those." Well, another carrier was less expensive for her, and I said, "How important is the rider?" And he said, "It's very important." I said, "Well, it'll cost you about $7 a month more than the lesser expensive carrier." He said, "It's worth $7.
One trip to Starbucks will take it."
And so he took we went Prudential on that one too. But I try to learn something new every day, and most days I do. Like I said earlier, for 10 to 12 hours a day, it's all I do.
Right.
And so if it's all you do, you're going to learn something new. Hey, I want to go back one thing that I failed to mention on the how do you follow up. I mentioned Radius and client management tools and all that, and I've mentioned annual reviews. One other thing too is make sure that you're sending out birthday cards to your clients. Every client I have, I send out birthday cards to, and it's handwritten. I mean, I handwrite 3 or 4 sentences with every single client, and they get a birthday card from me. And
that's a lost art as well.
It's a lost art.
People just probably eat that up. They probably just love that.
And then also, anytime we have special product announcements, like when I learned about Kemper's home health care product, I thought that was a very unique product, and so I did a mailing to my entire client base, and just announcing that product and letting them know if you've ever had a situation to where you couldn't afford long-term care or you couldn't health qualify for long-term care, I've got a great alternative for you. 95% of the people start out in home health care anyway over a nursing home.
Right.
So and it's a very, very affordable product to where, I sell a lot of long-term care, and I still prefer long-term care over home health care. But at the same time, sometimes the budget doesn't allow, or sometimes their health doesn't allow, and then the home health care product is a great fallback.
Exactly. It definitely is. Anything else like that on that?
No.
Okay. For all the new and struggling agents that are listening live or later on YouTube, what advice would you give for prospecting consistently?
Prospecting is a mindset. It has to be something that you do, that you consistently and constantly and purposely do. Prospecting is not something that is just going to occur just by you breathing and by you getting out of bed. It's got to be a mindset. It's got to be something you do on purpose. And so I would just give you some. The only thing I would encourage you to do is find ways that to get in front of people. Surely to goodness, everyone on this phone call knows somebody that's a real estate agent, somebody that's a commercial real estate agent, somebody that's a mortgage loan officer, somebody that sells property and casualty insurance. An accountant. I'm assuming everybody does their taxes every year.
Right.
And, an accountant. Estate planning and elder law attorney. People already. You just got to go sit down with those individuals and share ideas with them and let them know what you do. Find out what they do. Find out what their ideal referral is. And we have I've got a memory jogger. I got off the internet. It's not mine. I wouldn't be smart enough to figure, to do those, to create one. But I've got a memory jogger that Cody can easily email you that I've used, for a long time. And
I'll get a copy of that, and after the call, I'll make sure I email it to all the agents. So you don't even have to ask for it. I'll just email it out if you'd like it. You can use it. If not, you still got it. So. And
it's a great thing, and it's going to look daunting because it's about 15 pages. But most of it is just information on how to use the resources, and it's giving you ideas. If I could encourage you to do anything this weekend at all, I would take 30 minutes out of your entire weekend. Take 30 minutes and just read this memory jogger because it's going to teach you how to get in front of people and how to visit with people. And again, it's not my piece. It's something I pulled off the internet, and there's another 100 on the internet if you want to go pull a different one off. But I'm just telling you that it's a great way to teach you to get in front of people.
Excellent. We'll definitely email it out to everybody. I appreciate that. If you had to pick one word, just one single word to define your success over the last 26 years, what would that word be?
Creative. I keep going back to the word creative. The individuals that aren't creative, chances of them succeeding at a high level is not very good. I'm not saying they can't succeed, but succeeding at a high level. You think of the people in this world that are very, very, very successful, and you just think, I don't care what the industry is, do you think, and ask yourself, did that person think outside the box? Mm-hmm. And I don't think you can name me an extremely successful person who did not think outside the box. They find ways to get in front of people.
Yeah. No matter the obstacle, they're going to find a way to succeed, and they think of unique, creative ways, as you've mentioned, to do that. Is there anything else that you'd like to share that you feel is important that we haven't discussed?
Yeah, one thing I'd like to really hit on for just a second, don't be hesitant to bring in more experienced agent in on the sell with you. I've seen so many times an agent is so scared of sharing commissions with another person to where they just would assume have 0% of it than 50% of it.
That's a phenomenal point.
Which makes no common sense to me. Let me give you an example. I know life insurance very well, very, very well. I know health insurance. I know long-term care. I know disability. I know critical illness. I know Medicare. I know those products extremely well. But if tomorrow I've got an appointment with an individual with a lot of money, they've got some money, and I know they got CDs, and because I've already done the fact finding, et cetera, I'm doing a follow-up appointment. I'm not going back alone. I'm taking Mike Gann with me. He knows that world. Absolutely. And he's going to get 50% of the comp. But I'd rather have 50%
for sure sales and
of $10,000 than 0% of $10,000. And he knows that world where I can go in there and I can probably fumble around and get the quotes ran and fumble around, but they're going to realize that I don't know that world as well as and they're not going to have a tremendous amount of confidence in me.
And prospects feel confidence, and if they don't feel confidence, or we don't show confidence, or they don't hear confidence in us, they're going to buy from someone else.
There's no question. And so, but when Mike goes in there, Mike's going to have a lot of confidence, and the clients he's going to be very confident in what he's in answering their questions, presenting the products, explaining the details of the products, et cetera.
The people prospecting call. Hope you have a phenomenal weekend. And then hope you make a ton of sales next week. Hope you see a lot of people. We will talk soon. Thank you for joining.